Greetings and welcome to Empower 11 Radio. This is the 1 hour show we bring to you every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. You're either joining us live on Spreaker, which is an app you can get for your iPhone or Android phone, which is a cool thing. You can listen to it on the go, listen to any of our archived shows. This is show number 61, so plenty of shows to listen to.
iTunes, you can get it on too.
Yeah, you can get it on iTunes, and now you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on the Empower 11 website. Listen to us on the Empower 11 website. We're all over the place. Also, speaking of iTunes, and we haven't even introduced ourselves yet, but hey, iTunes, get our Empower Wealth album. It's available on iTunes for download, and also you can get it physically at Amazon if you want the physical CD. I'm Jack Voorhees, finally getting around to introducing ourselves, and I am sitting next to the beautiful, the vivacious, the girl who makes me go hubba hubba, Ann Ribley.
Hi there, Jack Voorhees. You are pretty awesome yourself, you little business genius, warm, compassionate, wonderful co-host.
Well, thank you very much. So today's show is about leveraging relationships. It's about
powering up relationships.
Powering your relationships up. The whole premise of Empower 11 is turning your life up to 11. It's how to get the inside of who you are to match, getting congruency with the outside world. So here we're all about turning your life up to 11. This is about empowering you, getting into that really good place within yourself and presenting that to the world. And these are the people that are making the difference. And we encourage you to be one of them. We want to thank you for showing up, our empowered people that keep showing up week after week as we continue to broadcast our shows. And now we are on the video. If you're watching our video, we're very, very glad to have you. So, you ready to get started, Ann? You ready to turn your life up to 11?
I am, and I'm excited about today's topic because relationships are one of the most paramount, essential, core connections that we have that determine how much our life, the soul of our life, thrives is in this connection with our relationships. Mm-hmm. And in today's times, in this new world that we're living in, we're no longer in a world where it's hard to get our survival needs met. And so because of that, we're looking at our call for relationships to have more meaning and impact has never been greater as well. That's why people who have their physical needs met, many times will also have emptiness in their life if they don't have those heartfelt, meaningful relationships.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a new world. In the old days, we needed to, we needed each other to survive. We needed, man would get together with woman. Woman would help protect man.
Man
would help protect woman. Woman would help nurture man. They would make children, help them work the fields. And I mean, it was all about survival, getting through the winter, getting through whatever they needed to get through in life. And then it became, that was more of a transactional type of way of having a relationship. It was to serve a need.
And it expanded where it was actually then relationships were built on if my family connects with your family, how much more power do we gain in our survival and our needs being met?
Right, and how many goats do we get? These arranged marriages that are still going on today, and there's still people that are ongoing with this type of way that they arrange these marriages, and they they trade goats and they do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But then the more civilized society, the more advanced kind of cultures, we got to this point where it was like this basic need stuff is not so difficult to get. I mean, we're
more connected, and that's how we've been able to connect to sources of leveraging our knowledge, our information, our resources, because we're in a more connected world.
Yeah, and then so it gets to this place where, I mean, it is evolved to this place where the spiritual needs, are more present, because it's like, yeah, you can get married and say you found a good catch because this person is a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, college educated, or has a good job or comes from a good family, and therefore can really be a good provider. And the thing is that how good a provider do you need? Because how big a house do you need? It goes beyond just the survival. The survival got like bigger and bigger. Okay, it's not enough just to survive. Now we need bigger houses, we need bigger things, we need more stuff. But then even after the people get these things, they have all these material possessions. Why don't they stay together? It's because there's something that's beyond that. It's something that is that we're longing for in our evolution.
It is so essential for us to thrive, having those meaningful relationships that start not only with ourselves, but with our intimate relationships, our family, our friends. It's so important that if it is ignored, if it is not interacted with, if it is not engaged, we have an epidemic of people who have lost their way, have become addicted to antidepressants and chemical alterations or just addictions, period, in order to try to change how we feel from something that is empty. And it's really this empty yearning that is calling forth for us to become more whole with ourselves and our world around us.
Yeah, these relationships that are based on filling some kind of void that we have inside ourselves, I mean, is not healthy. If you're looking to somebody else to complete you, to fill something that you're missing within yourself, that is not a healthy type of relationship, because you see these people that bounce from person to person to person thinking, oh, I'll be happy with this one, and then I'll be happy with this one, and then I'll be happy with this one. But the thing is, you got to get happy within yourself. You have to be whole inside yourself, healed and whole first. And when I look at a really healthy relationship, I look at I look at a tuning fork. Both pieces of the tuning fork stand tall together, and they're perfectly upright. And then when they're struck, they vibrate in this perfect kind of harmony that put out this high vibrational tone. And when it's transactional, when it's like trying to fill some kind of void, something isn't quite right. If it's array, it's not aligned in some way, then the tone just doesn't present itself.
Well, it doesn't. It's not sustainable when something is more transactional. What's interesting is when we're talking about the tuning fork and how you ping the one side and then the other side gets in harmony and how it can create a vibrational harmony together. This is what happens when we leverage or we power up really good relationships where it unlocks the best version of each other. This is where worlds open up that couldn't open up separately. And it's symbolized with the tuning fork because the ping of the sound on the one side getting into resonant harmony on the other side, it could not happen on its own. It's a thing, it's a phenomenon that happens where two separate full standing pieces of something that's bigger to a whole actually can create something and unlock something it would never do on its own.
Yeah, and it's about promoting one another's spiritual growth. I mean, I think that's what we're really getting to, that's the essence of really having an empowered relationship. Now, we're talking about the tuning fork, and I do want to share the story that that kind of relates to a tuning fork, which we actually did this morning when we were having this family meeting with our 12-year-old CJ.
Yeah.
Now, he is a fantastic kid. I mean, rock star on the baseball field.
Academically.
And, oh yeah. I mean, he's a high achiever.
Yeah.
He's got these really core parts of him that is awesome. And I said to him today, it's like you're like a superhero, but you do have this piece of kryptonite. And my job as a parent is to make sure this kryptonite doesn't stop you from being the fully, functional, fully embraced person with his superpowers.
Yeah, you actually said that's a job of a parent, is to help endorse every kid's superhero powers and reduce the kryptonite so that when they go out in the world, their superhero powers, which are their unique special gifts. It was a great analogy that you gave, can be embraced rather than be rejected because what people see is the kryptonite and not the...
Yeah, they see the kryptonite and they don't see the special powers. So what we did was we took a tuning fork, an actual physical tuning fork, and...
Well, first say what you think his kryptonite is.
Oh, yeah. Well, his kryptonite is that he's too abrasive. I mean, he comes out too hard. He's like a bull in a china shop, and he's like just tries to power through a little bit of a kind of a bully way, and it isn't a place that's more in a rhythm and a flow. Even
though he may have valid points or he may have something he wants to offer that's good, it's lost.
Yeah, I mean, he can be absolutely right, absolutely on point, but the point is missed because of the way that he is presenting himself. And I used this tuning fork. We took this tuning fork, and Anne had a stopwatch, and I said, okay, I'm going to strike this tuning fork, and when you can't hear it anymore, tell Anne to stop. So I hit the tuning fork, and it went on.
It hummed.
And then he couldn't hear it anymore, and he said, stop. So Ann stopped the stopwatch. And I said, okay, and then we did it again, and we added to the time. And then we did it again, and we added to the time. So 3 times we did this, and it came out to...
36 seconds.
Okay, so 36 seconds, so an average of 12 seconds per ping. So then I said, okay, let's start over. And I said, Ann, when I hit the thing, start your stopwatch. And I told CJ to stop when he didn't hear it. And I went, bam, bam, bam.
Well, you went ping, ping, ping is what you did.
Okay. And
3 right in a row.
Yeah. And then he said, okay, stop. And how long was the time?
It was 6 seconds is how long the harmony lasts.
Okay.
With it going ping, ping, ping.
Okay. So it actually lasted less than one of a regular pings. And I said, did it take me the same amount of energy to make the tone 3 times when I hit it 3 times than I did hitting it 3 times in a row? And he said, yes, same amount of energy. And I said, but the result, what was the result? And he said, you got far less when you went bam, bam, bam.
And he said it even didn't sound as good.
Yeah, he said it didn't sound as good. So the point I was making is he can be heard. He can get the things he wants. He can express himself, but when he does it in a way that is more of like a porcupine kind of way, more of a harsh kind of way, that you're not going to get the good results as easily as you would like.
It's interesting that example it shows up in all of our lives in different ways. I was just talking with somebody who is a vegan, and she was saying that initially when she became...
She's from the planet vegan?
She said
is that like
she's
a
from
Vulcan?
She's from planet Earth, and
Okay.
her eating style is vegan.
Okay.
And she said initially she was very...
I heard those vegans are very hard to eat.
She said initially that she was an angry vegan.
Oh.
Yes. And she said that because her motivation to become a vegan was motivated to make a difference, and to make a difference in a way that to be less harmful to the planet,
Okay.
to living animals. And she said, I found out that I turned a lot of people off being angry and speaking and trying to inform people with anger.
Yeah.
With it.
You get what is it? You get more honey with sugar than vinegar or something like that?
You're talking about bees. You get more bees with honey than vinegar, I think is what the saying is. Anyway,
Okay.
here's
I don't know.
back to the story.
I'm sure we'll hear from some viewer who says, no, you got it all wrong.
No, okay. So I said to her that, which brings me to what's important about today's episode, is I said that God, divine, creation energy is a come closer. And it is not a repelling, angry energy. It's a universal loving presence energy that says come closer. So if we want it to, such as her, which is the same point you were making to our son CJ, is you want to say something, you go about it in a way that it resonates out, and it pulls the energy back. And that is exactly what the pinging does. It stays it comes closer. It stays into a resonant form with it instead of stopping or repelling away from it. And that's why when you did it more quickly, it didn't have the same come closer, staying in resonant energy to it.
Yeah, it was a tone like stay away kind of thing, as opposed to this bing and that kind of like, it was soothing. And the other tone was harsher.
Yeah, and so when we think about what does it really mean to power up the relationships in our lives, it starts with the core of who we are, which is that God, that divine, that spark of life, and getting into resonant with it is an energy that is a come closer.
Like a smile versus a frown.
I was wondering, you're like sitting here smiling at me. What was up?
Well, these shoulders are very distracting, Ann. It's like we're trying to record a show here, and okay.
Come closer.
Yes, your come closer energy is
emanating here some love. Universal loving presence, I really believe, is what the God energy is. And when we get into that place with ourselves, with those around us, we it invites people in to want to champion with us.
Yeah, incidentally, today we're not just talking about significant others here. We're talking about relationships with all the people in your life. It's friendships, it's family, it's and of course your spouse or a significant other. And there's these ways to have this more healthy types of interaction and connection with these people than I think is often displayed. I mean, I think that there's ways that people go about displaying their affection, and it's a very transactional type of way of doing so, and I really feel kind of sad for those people. I mean, there's people out there that don't know how to give properly. I mean, there's that don't know how to share who they are or what they have with other people, and it's all becomes transactional. I did X for this person, so Y should be my return. And the thing is, when you can give to this level that is in a place of expecting nothing in return. That is like the purest form of giving. And I if you've never done that, I really think that you're missing out. And if you go out there and start that process, the rewards, I mean, how good it feels is quite a reward. Is quite empowering.
Well, I think, Jack, when you're saying that that you feel sad for the people that are out there and they're functioning in a transactional way with relationships, I feel that it's not so much a case of that there's those doing it and there's those that aren't doing it. I feel that it's everywhere, and it's part of our cultural, this transactional.
You're going to owe me for this one. Just kidding.
And I think it's a matter of we're empowering and rising above that place in our common conditioning that we've had. And I do believe that it's a lower vibration. It is more of that animalistic, predatory in nature. But I do think that that's how much of cultural conditioning is, scoping and hunting. It's part of those kind of mindset days. And so people go out and they're out on the hunt for what's going to fulfill their agenda in business transactions or how they're doing business.
Oh, yeah. And, business relationships, I mean, those need to be mutually beneficial as well. I mean, for anything to be healthy, it's really got to be mutually beneficial. So if you're in a business relationship and you're dominating and you're like taking the lion's share and you're just leaving your partner with scraps, that's not going to be a healthy long-term relationship.
Well, what's even interesting is I know that right now where we're at in our lives is, having experienced it ourselves and then also experiencing it with some of our friends right now is that people who are, let's say, getting a divorce and what it takes to begin to split up assets. These are the same issue that happens is somehow what looks good on a financial sheet actually trumps the power of the relationship. In all the years that someone has spent building something with somebody. And you see this happen that after the divorce and they split up the assets, people can't stand one another.
Yeah, that's a
So back to that mutually beneficial.
I was thinking about that with when you have a relationship with, like, say we have a relationship with another couple. Okay, we have friends that are couples that we would go out with and do stuff with. Yeah. And the thing is, the real mark of if you're really in a good relationship with those two is if those two divorced, that you wouldn't have to choose sides. You wouldn't have to say, okay, well, now we're no longer friends with him. We're only friends with her. You would be able, if it's a really healthy relationship that you're in with another couple, then that is, you're still going to be in it, even if they split apart.
Well, because that is a godlike quality. Because that is what unconditional, non-judgmental state of being is the more we get to that core relationship, which is our relationship with the divine, our relationship with that spark of life, and we share, in an unencumbered way with all those in our lives.
What do you think it is, Anne, that has people like in this transactional way, in this couple type partnership, but they're not transactional with like their children? Like you don't buy, you can buy your kids Christmas presents and say it's from Santa Claus, so you're not expecting, anything in return. Yeah. It's like, and that that's that pure love, and when you're giving that pure love to that innocence, I mean that's
that's
just
more
a
occasional
beautiful place to be.
That's more occasional.
Well,
Let's go to more like everyday life.
Okay, let's go there. Okay, I'm here.
Okay,
Let's do it.
well, okay, I have an example. Like, well, kids will make a mistake, and we're more apt to forgive.
Sure. Yeah.
And we're more apt to let go.
Yeah.
And
but if it was the if it was the significant other, it may be differently.
Yeah.
It may be treated differently.
okay, we do their laundry, your kids' laundry. There is this place where we don't function transactionally the same way with children.
Yeah. It's not like, okay, I mean, I understand this like splitting up responsibilities and things, but it's not like I did X, so he should do this. I did this, so she should do that. And setting up these expectations that just start, they start chipping away at the foundation of something that's strong. I don't think that these expectations are healthy. I mean, the healthy kind of expectations are, I expect my woman to be present. My partner is present, and I expect that.
Well, actually, you got to expect that of yourself first.
True.
Because that's how you get the resonant happening. Well, that's what I wanted to say too. We're not only talking about relationships with others in our lives. We're talking about relationships with ourselves. And we're talking about the relationships with the areas of our life that matter. What is that relationship? How do you power up that relationship with your purpose? How do you power up that relationship with your health and well-being? How do you power up that relationship with your wealth and areas of connection? Powering up that relationship. Because, Jack, you talk about this all the time, that when you lower the bar in one area of your life, you really lower the bar in every area. And I think a lot of times when we talk about powering up your relationship, people can be really financially wealthy, but they could also be very disengaged and unhappy because they don't have that fulfilling relationship with themselves and someone special.
They can be wealthy and spiritually bankrupt at the same time.
Right. So this is the powering up that relationship. We're talking about in really all those areas that matter. So give an example, like how you would say that you lower the bar in one area and...
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like, for instance, when I got out of a relationship that was empoweringly challenged, I just wanted to concentrate on my hopes and my dreams, and I thought, I'd just put love last on my list because, it was so difficult and everything, and I just want to go after my hopes and my dreams. But then what I came to realize is, during this time, because during that time I was doing a lot of reflection, a lot of shifting, a lot of redesigning of how I wanted to live my life.
You said it was really deep and soulful during that time. I mean, it wasn't like of the mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you were digging deep to like actually a reorientating, a real shifting, like literally, like planet shifting, like plate shifting, like this morning shifting.
Oh yeah, that was quite a shift actually. I mean, we're coming to you from Santa Barbara, California. If I didn't mention that, USA. Yes. So I moved out here a couple of years ago, and today I experienced a California thing for the first time. And this California thing was an earthquake, and we had. At first they were saying it was a 5.2, but now I think they're saying it was a 4.6.
Yes.
And it was something. It was. I still feel it a little bit in my body.
Well, people think an earthquake is more just the ground shaking, but it's really a movement. It is like a shifting and a movement because we actually felt it race through our house. The movement, didn't you?
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was really, really unusual.
The earth
I
is
don't-
alive.
I
The
don't know.
world is alive.
Yeah, things are constantly changing. I don't know how I could quite explain the experience if you've never gone through it. I don't think there's words. You know,
I
you
know,
can say like,
it's-
oh, it was like you're on a boat, or it was like this. It was like, no, you kind of just have to be there in order to really know what one feels like. So now I do.
So
Scratch that off the list.
So you were in this deep place of really shifting, of
Oh, I sure was. Yeah, very a lot of reflection, a lot of designing, a lot of. I mean, I could go into this. We could have a whole show on this, but the thing is,
as much as you wanted to lower the bar with
yeah,
relationships.
I mean, I really came to this understanding that if I was to lower the bar in any area of my life, it would affect every area of my life. You know, so you say if you're trying to raise the bar in your life, and yet you're going to lower the bar in some area, it's going to affect
Everything's going to slide down.
Yeah. So you can't get to this place of just really good empowerment if you're going to lower the bar in any area of life.
And that's the thing you see. So when we're talking about empowering up your relationships, it all starts first on the inside. And when you can get to that good place on the inside with every aspect that matters, with your connection to self, source, creation, creator, and then it goes to the ones you love, it goes out into your purpose, out into the vocation and how you're choosing in your career, how in your home, in your community, and it expands and it ripples from there. When it starts from the inside and it moves out like that, what happens is then you actually start to move out of being any kind of transactional, less empowering type behavioral person, because you're not trying to grab, you're not scanning from the outside to look at what you can gain in order to fix something that feels unstable or incomplete or missing on the inside.
I want to talk about the 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 part. So take us through that.
Well, when you power up relationships and they really get leveraged, it's that place where the sum is greater than the parts. And that is where when two people come together and they're actually bringing out the better versions of each other and they're greater and wholer as of being together.
You bring out the better version in me, Ann.
You know,
absolutely, I mean that.
No, it is true. I'm a better person because of you too, Jack. I am. And it's
You're happier. You say, because I know, because her friends say that she smiles more. And I love it when she smiles. Look at that smile.
And I actually smiled a lot, you know. And so, but it's what was said. Well, this is the official word by my mom, is that when my firstborn child came, that I smiled all the time. But how could I not? I had a baby, you know, that was always smiling, and I have that kind of smile of when I had my first baby, and that, but all the time now. You say this to me all the time. You'll go, "Why are you smiling?" I'm like, I'm happy.
So 1 + 1 does not equal 2. 1 + 1 equals 11.
Yeah.
Because it's
a quantum,
exponential.
Yeah, a quantum multiplication happens into the world, where when there's a rapport, that's how the tuning fork works. And that's what's so powerful about the symbol of 11, because it's the 1 + 1 has the power to be 11. And you know, a rocket gets liftoff by going 11 kilometers per second. So what does that tell you? Once it reaches not 10 kilometers, but 11 kilometers, what happens is it actually starts to defy the laws that have held it in place, and it's getting liftoff.
It defies gravity.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, and that's where the tuning fork comes into place. I mean, if you only had one side of a tuning fork, it's not going to make that vibration. It's not going to cause that kind of effect. But you get the other side in perfect alignment, and when you hit one side, it starts this beautiful tone, and so that's where I just love the symbol of the tuning fork, and it's absolutely true. And I believe that man was not meant to be alone.
That was when we were actually getting to know each other, Jack. You would say that, and that was.
You need a partner to help.
That was compelling
to
that understanding,
promote each other's spiritual growth.
Well, the reason why it was compelling, Jack, is that signified that you were not operating in this transactional way. Is I need someone to make me feel better. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are looking for someone to feel better.
That's like a filling of a void.
And so when you would say that man was not meant to be alone, you'd always say it from a place that we're meant to share in this life together. And you still, to this day, from the time we've been together, live in that higher vibration of this sharing of an experience. And I really believe that high vibrational relationships are based on sharing. They're not, that's the problem, that a lot of times you'll hear get in service in order to like have a fulfilling life. And I do believe that in the right context that being of service is good. But the problem is I think it can get all convoluted in our mind where people are still out doing it transactionally. I am doing this service to get something back, to get something in return. When I think you move up the empowering scale and you get into the place of sharing, then it's just the giving of who you are. And I do believe that's how Jesus and Buddha walked the earth, is they were in the business of just sharing that higher essence of who they were.
Right. It wasn't like a takeaway. It didn't cost,
they were not in service.
Right. It was.
That's more transactional.
When you're just sharing who you are, it's like you're just showing the world who you are, sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience like we're doing here today. And we only become more empowered from it. We only get more power from that. It's not like a draining thing where we're giving. No, we're sharing. That's a much more empowering stance to come from.
Yeah, so in our lives, when we get into this, when you say, Jack, man was not meant to be alone, you're actually coming from this orientation of sharing, this true place within ourselves. And the truth is that when you peel it all back, we aren't even meant to be alone, even within ourselves. We are connected to a spark of life, a universal loving presence that is making our heart beat. We're never alone. And when we can get to this place where we are alone and at peace with ourselves, we know that we're in that right place to share who we are with the world. It's when someone is afraid to be alone.
Yeah, when they jump from relationship to relationship to relationship.
Because they don't like being alone.
Yeah, because they're not comfortable in their own skin. They've not got to this good place within themselves before they go out and try to match up. They're just like looking for something to complete them, to help them, to fill a void.
And you know this, Jack, because you went through that window in your own life where you knew that difference between when you were looking to be with somebody because you didn't like being alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so this place that you're saying man was not meant to be alone, it's really from that inside out model, not from the outside in model, which is the outside in is where you're looking for something on the outside to fill that place. When you get to that place where you own the core of that relationship of who you are on the inside, then you have something to share on the outside with the world. Now you're in that reciprocating rapport where you're turning it up to 11.
And the rapport, when you talk about rapport, rapport sounds like an easier place. Like there's so many people that say relationships are difficult. Relationships are hard. This is, like all relationships are hard. They all have these things you got to go through, and they're difficult, and you got to work at them and stuff like that. I don't consider our relationship work, Ann. I don't consider that, our relationship is hard. I don't think, and
we don't fight.
Yes, we don't fight.
But that doesn't mean that we don't have conversations where we're creating understanding.
Right. And it's not about her being wrong and me being right. No, but seriously, it
so what is it about?
It is about making it better. So we talk, we communicate, and we figure out ways of making things better. And that's the overall outcome. It doesn't have to be my way. It doesn't have to be her way. It just... And I have this thing about ways, too. I was like, Ann Ribley, you go your way and I'll go mine. Okay?
Well, and it's interesting because anybody who's in the, actively engaged in an intimate partnering relationship, there's many bridges you cross together. You cross bridges that deal with finances.
Sure.
And you cross bridges if you have children you're raising together on parenting. And I know sexuality is also a bridge that is, finding those common grounds of those major bridges that you cross to.
Right. And if your partner puts the toothpaste on, cap on, that could be really important. Yeah, if they put the toilet paper the way where it comes on the inside or it goes on the outside, that could be a big thing too. There's lots of things.
Yeah, but you know what? We covered that ground early on. Jack said that right away. He's like, you know what? We're not going to, before we even met in person, we're not going to waste any time getting caught up on the minutia of life, is what you said.
Right. And then, there's also this thing about joking, around. There's also this thing about kidding around. A lot of this kidding gets out of hand.
Condescending sarcasm.
Yeah. It's not empowering behavior. It's not something we choose to participate in.
And, I think in relationships, people can be really flippant about it. It happens with intimate relationships, and then it can also happen with some of these core relationships that we have that it can just start to spiral in a disempowering way.
Right. So, is it unusual that we don't fight?
Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about that.
Well,
I have something to say about that.
Well, say it.
Well, what I have to say is, because you said we're at the objective to make it better. Mm-hmm. I also feel like the longer that I'm in relation with you, Jack, and the more that we keep crossing different bridges and understandings and life situations, because let's face it, when you're actively engaged in life, stuff comes up and you're maneuvering through things.
Sure.
What I have found is that when you can trust that each person is not getting positional and has surrendered to the greater betterment of just being better and not being in a position of being right and seeing things their way.
Yeah. Not having to talk somebody into something or bully somebody or get them to do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah, or just be, only stand on one side of the fence or one side of the camp. This doesn't mean that we don't stand for each of our places that are important to us, and neither one of us compromise, but we have a common direction we're going towards, which is to be better. Now, what I have found is that because of that, I can relax so much more. And that's the other thing that is said over and over again, Jack. Not only do I smile more, but everybody has said I'm so much more relaxed. And that is because I feel in life we lose a lot of energy with this buzz and hum of worrying about not feeling safe, supported in life with our feelings, our directions, where we want to go. And if in our core relationships, we can get to this place that we know that we can stand up, say what needs to be said, be heard, and be supported, then we don't waste all this time worrying about it being something that it's not. And I feel that same way.
Right. I know there's people out there that are really concerned that their husband's going to leave them, or their wife's going to leave them, or something like that. I mean, that's not an empowering place. That's not an empowering place to be. I mean, that's not a place of a really healthy relationship.
Well, okay, even more than concerned that they're going to leave them, I think that there's a lot of people who are staying in something out of survival, which is back to what we had said in the first part of this is, what does it mean to power up our relationships? It's actually to go to the soul of what we're here and hungry for. Everybody yearns for that love. Everybody does.
Sure.
And to experience that with somebody. So if we're locked out of that world right now, no matter how much of our survival needs are being met, there's a part of us that will not come as alive to this life and what it has to offer if we're not sharing the love that we have to give and we want to share with somebody. Now, it's with somebody, it's with our purpose, it's with our connection, it's with all the ways that matter in our life. It's even with our own bodies and our own well-being.
Yeah.
In Empower 11, a lot of what we say is about embracing, embodying, and empowering our lives. Those are the 3 steps to really turn up the volume.
Yeah. And it really helped me to get an understanding of this this method. I mean, this embrace part, that's a little bit more of the mind. That's like those of you who've been listening to our shows know that that I've been in I've been in a part of a 12-step program for over 15 years, and I've overcome my substance abuse addictions, and what I really came to understand was, when I first got into the program, and when newcomers come in, they learn about the steps. They learn all about them, all these tools to live life on life's terms. And then the next progression, if they make it that far, is to start living it. And that's where you practice these principles in all your affairs. That's where that part comes in. Then the next aspect is that I don't see many get to is when they embody it, when it just becomes part of who they are, and they don't have to think it. It's a natural part that you don't have to practice because it's just who you are.
Yeah, and that story reminds me of exactly what we see happening right now. Our kids are in baseball, and even if they're athletically inclined and they're great at the sport, they still have to go out and practice the throws, the moves, the everything, because the more repetitive they are with the practice of it, the more they just embody it. The ball comes to them, they throw it to first, it becomes automatic. It becomes not something that you have to think so much about. Now, translate that to our lives. How do we power up our relationships? In some aspects, we may have to think about it in order to practice something new. But the idea is we embrace what is. We embrace what is the truth of what is right now to begin to embody what it is the way we want to empower our lives. And then the more we get it in the body, where it's the automatic of what we are, the more we can empower that in our lives.
Yeah. That is a good point. And, I want to move on to talking about loyalty. And loyalty also seems like, in a relationship, it's like, a good relationship is to have somebody who's loyal to you. But if it's loyal, then why does it have to be loyal? Well, and people can say, well, there's outside forces. I mean, I don't want my woman cheating on me. I don't want my man cheating on me. But the thing is, why would you need to cheat? So you're looking for somewhere else to get your needs met. It's like, why would I don't have to cheat because I've already won. I'm in a game that I've already won, so I already have my needs fulfilled. So why, this thing of like, my needs aren't being fulfilled, but I'm going to stay loyal. Yes, this person treats me badly, but I've held firm to, our commitment.
Well, this is where you've seen the downfall to loyalty is when you've seen these armies of people who've gotten behind really bad ideals but have stayed loyal to it.
Yeah.
I mean, Hitler is an extreme example of it.
Yeah, that was a bad one. That would have been a bad call, I think, if he got behind Hitler
and was loyal to that.
Yeah.
But there were people who were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now scale it back in our lives. And you look at like these examples of when you can go to the place that elicits the truth of something and you're loyal to that. And then it's like Martin Luther King made such an impact with his whole civil rights movement, not because he had loyal followers, but because he elicited to the truthful part of what was loyal to each and every human being of how they felt other human beings should be treated. Mm-hmm. And people were actually got behind the fact that I'm going to be loyal to this nonviolent movement. And I'm not going to fight it back with violence.
Yeah.
And that's that same place where when you say, why would I cheat? I've already won. And it's our power zone. To empower our power zone, it starts with embracing, embodying, and empowering whatever it is that we're trying to call forth in our life from that real, truthful place that starts at the core of who we are. So we want to leverage our relationships. We want to power up our relationships. The relationship begins with self and answering to that place. And then we naturally just share it with those around us.
And this real part of like what a relationship is. I mean, a relationship is a connection. It's being connected. It's so like when we talk about friendships, our best friendships are people that we can talk to and we can be really real with. We can be totally authentic, totally ourselves. And, I think that women tend to have a more natural at ease with this. I think men have a little bit harder of an issue with it. I had a sponsee that I used to have to talk to for a good 20 minutes before I could ever get to anything that was real. It was all canned cliches and things, It was all just, these auto responses. The auto responses I'm talking about. I mean, when you say to
how you doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
Fine.
Fine, you?
Yeah.
That's like, and if you start telling them how you're doing, they're like, what? Huh? Like, what's going on here? And but then, who do you remember? Do you remember the people that say, that give their unique selves, that they connect, they actually tell you how they're doing? Or do you remember the people that are just saying these canned, cliched kind of things like fine and you?
So if we get to our authentic power and we're showing up and being real, it is a more vulnerable spot. And that's what I think.
More vulnerable, but more powerful as well.
I agree. And I think that when you say women can get to it quicker than necessarily like sometimes men, I think it's because our culture conditions men
to have more ego.
Well, to not be vulnerable because not appear weak.
Yep. Hide them tears, boy.
Right.
Yeah. And then the girl's crying, and the dad's like, "Oh, baby, it's okay. Come here, baby." You know? It's
It's a new world, though.
It's okay to express your feelings.
It's a new world today.
It is. The
And
world
that's
is,
what this
is changing. It's getting to a better place. It's getting more connected.
Yeah, and because of our tools of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And also with our tools of connection become more responsibility to not actually let them become a source of disconnection, but to...
That's true. I mean, you were talking to somebody about Facebook, and you're saying, like, that's not real. I mean, what you see people posting things and stuff, I mean, there are sharing a part of themselves and who they are, but they're sharing the very best parts. They're like, I'm not going to post a picture of me where I look like crap waking up in the morning.
Well, it's not even just that, but it's like if you're going to share things that's going on with your family, I mean, it's not the proper forum or the platform to be airing dirty laundry out about other people. And you see that this comes back and gets people when they're using that because it's inappropriate. It's just not the right way to deal with processing life. So therefore, when people want to gauge what relationships are to them, it's not even it is a virtual platform, and it can represent a facet of ourselves, but it is not the totality.
Sure. Yeah.
Of ourselves or our relationships.
So a couple things I want to cover before we're getting to the end of the hour here is to really make the point of, how do you have empowered relationships? How do you know if you're in a really good, powerful place? How do you get towards that place? And understand that it's got to be mutually beneficial and supportive. And I really wanted to make that point. And also this transactional stuff. It's really can't come from that place. And the more we can move away, if you find yourself in that place, the more you can move away from it, and the more you can give, just be this greatness of who you are, and just share that, and not have to set expectations, and so you can just stop getting offended, and when you're working towards something in a relationship, it should be for the greater good and not to win. Not to win your point, because that's how you win. The win is when the outcome is the greater good. The lose is when it's like, oh, I made my point. Told her.
What did you say without using the same level of profanity? What did you say that you've seen all too not?
I use profanity?
well, it wasn't necessarily your words, but when you said... I'll try to fill in the blank appropriately, but you give it the real flavor, but maybe not that. I'll show them by showing me but you used real words for that.
Yeah, I'll show you blank me. That you see that all too often. Like,
I'll show you. Yes. And it basically screws me. Right?
Yeah, I'll show you. Screw me. We'll throw in those words. Okay. Yeah. So it's when you're willing to screw yourself just to make a point to show somebody else something. That isn't the greater good. That is not healthy.
But you said
stop that. Don't do that.
No, but you said that people don't see it. That they're doing that to themselves.
They're so in it. They're so in it. It's
well, you see this with kids.
You see it all the time with kids. Yep. I'm going to fall down. I'm going to hurt myself so I can show them that they were wrong about whatever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it can be all over the place in whatever range. But to get into this place where you're powering up your relationship, it's really evolving into a higher ground, into a more empowering state where understanding your impact really goes out into the world and affects not only your relationship with yourself, but those around you. And it's really turning up the dial of responsibility to know that you are not insignificant. And what you have to say and what you have to do is not insignificant. And when we do things that are not empowering to us, those things are not even insignificant. They can have significant impact.
So Yeah. Again, stop doing that stuff. So anyway, we've reached the end of the hour. Now, I could go on and on about this subject because I think it's like such a powerful thing to talk about, and there's so many more strides that we can take as we become more evolved spiritually. It's it comes down to just love. Just just bringing love, bringing the highest level of love to everything you do. And you really don't have to think so much about all this stuff. When you're doing that, you're not being transactional, you're not being offended, you're being mutually supportive, you're working towards the greater good. All these things just start happening. So just bring the bearer of love, and your capacity to love is far beyond what we can think it to be. So we're going to end with the meditational moment. Anne, I want to thank you in advance because you always do such a it's just a cool thing that you do, that you go through this process and come up with this. So, and I love this way of capping the show. So this is our meditational moment.
Yeah, so I invite you in wherever you're at and begin to get still and just take a few moments to relax into your own life, into your own moment of now. And go into the journey that you get to take ownership of the story that sits inside of you. This story that speaks kind and loving words of inspiration and guidance to help you become sharp and clear in mind and get in touch with the best decision maker inside of you. Own the story that wants to take the best care of your body, to be kind, to be loving with its gestures, to this magnificent body that wants to carry out your soul's message. Tune into the story that has the original knowing of the voice deep within that guides you in what is important to your heart, the life deep inside you. Move into the center of it. It is the most sacred love and dreams that are held within your heart, the place deep inside your chest, your heart's treasure chest of love. The heart is the keeper of your love mysteries. Your heart is a treasure chest of your gifts. Grow deeper into the gifts of your divine gifts, your gifts of glory that belong to you and only you. Cherish them, honor them. No matter what storms may come into the patterns of your life, the treasure chest, your heart center, is still held sacred and secure, full of the truth of the original knowing. Take ownership of that place within your heart where your treasures sit. Give the gifts of who you are and let it encircle all in your life. Let your life take on a rich texture. Own it, this treasure chest that's so full of so much to give and share. Own it and know it. Power up your relationships. Begin with you today.
Thank you very much, Anne. And thank you, the listener, for tuning in. We are so glad that you show up every week. And until next week, have an empowered week.